The guy I'm giving math lessons to caught feelings for me, what to do? So many people in the comments are focusing on the age gap. I think the biggest factor for me is that it appears that you simply don't have the same feelings for him. And so now it's about setting that boundary. I personally think the best way to go about it is to be clear honest. No need to be harsh either. Hey X. Thanks for giving me time to reflect. I think I got caught off guard by what you've told me. So I don't share the same type of feelings towards you, even though I honestly think you're a pretty cool guy. Out of respect for you, I think it's best to be clear about where we stand and quat. I'd say follow your curiosity. You're young. He's young. You're at a stage in your life now that's wonderful. This is when you try things and start figuring out what you want from life. If you don't really like him, then tell him sorry. I'm just not that interested in something like that with you and quat. But if you're curious about it and want to explore what that's like, then give it a shot. You can always end it. TLDR, make your own decisions without being afraid to make the wrong choice and quat. You're at the age to explore your values and build them. I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong, but you wouldn't have posted this question if you didn't want him. And if you do want him, just go for it. You'll make a teenager happy. And possibly yourself in the bargain. That might be your future husband for all you know. 3 years can be a big difference as teenagers. But if you were 23 and he was 20, you wouldn't think anything of it. Life is too short. Do what makes you happy if it doesn't hurt anyone else. And if people have anything negative to say about it, then fuck 'em. What's a quote that always gives you peace? I read something like this online once about dealing with regret. I don't remember who said it and can't remember the exact wording, but it went something like, which version of you do you identify with the most? The one that did the terrible thing or the one that regrets doing it? I think there's something really comforting about this. We all make mistakes. But just because we have doesn't mean that we become them or they define who we are. Regret is a horrible feeling, but there's almost comfort in the feeling because the part of you that regrets is the true you. If anyone knows who actually said this, please let me know. It is a far greater victory to make another see through your eyes than to close theirs forever. And quat, it's uncomfortable for a lot of people to have serious, difficult discussions. But it isn't a compelling enough reason not to have them. Regardless of how it might make other people feel about you when they disagree with your perception of the world. Educating people, challenging each other's views and growing together outweighs the contempt some may express, the vitriol they may spew. The weight is a gift. Courtesy of a Not a Surf album title. I have several medical conditions that affect my ability to communicate at times, move my body, live without pain, and more. Each has been difficult to diagnose. None were diagnosed until I was 41. Yet most have been lifelong conditions. Sometimes, people deal with similar symptoms and don't know what's going on. Because I spent many years pursuing each diagnosis, I've been able to help people get closer to an accurate diagnosis and treatment. Sometimes, the weight we bear can be a gift to others. Ladies, when did you realize that the bar was low for men? My partner takes our daughter to the park and he's the best dad in the world. I take her and it's just what I'm supposed to do. He also hates this low standard set for dads. Also, I've had people say I take advantage of him when we first started dating because he would bring me stuff when I was more than capable and quat. I get pretty bad social anxiety, especially when I was younger, and at parties he would get me beer or pizza or whatever while I sat on the couch. Or his older sister said I should be fixing his plate, not him fixing mine. It depends on which bar you're talking about. In terms of how they treat women, yeah, that bar's on the floor. And the bare minimum of respect is regarded as laudatory. On the other hand, they're expected to bear immense physical and emotional burdens without complaint. Mostly by other men, but I've seen women uphold that standard as well. I learned both sides of that as a teenage boy, who hadn't realized I was actually a trans girl, where me simply not being an asshole made me a favorite among my female friends. And my perceived weakness led me to be shunned by the guys. After realizing how many men think that arrested development, learned helplessness, and weaponized incompetence are cute quirks, i.e. men endearingly calling themselves idiots whenever they make blunders in relationships, blunders that probably wouldn't happen if they exercised the slightest bit of forethought/empathy, feel like the bar's gotta be pretty low if we're holding men to the same standard as literal children. Or more accurately, they're holding themselves to that standard and we're expected to follow suit. My mom opened a credit card in my name 5 years ago. What should I do? Since you were under 18, you cannot legally open a credit card. Even though she's taking your name off. You need to call the credit card company and inquire how they issued you a card if you were under 18. You don't have to mention your mother. Just say you never applied for a card with them as you were a teenager. Be very stern but no angry. And let them know you plan to seek legal action against said credit card company. This will kick off their own investigation and take a lot of the work off your hands. There's a chance that she simply added you as an authorized user on one of her cards. None of what you've described is absolute proof of fraud. This may be all above board. This is a fairly common move that some parents will do to establish credit history for their children. It's important to understand that utilization can have a significant impact on your score, and it also has no long-term impact. You mentioned that the payment history is 100% but utilization is 96%. This means that as soon as the utilization is fixed, your score will bounce back. It's a good idea to investigate this thoroughly anyways. Find the card details and call them and ask about the card. You should be able to find everything out about the history of the card. Impress on the people at the card place that you did not open this card and that you want it frozen. Change the username and password to one of your choosing. Get a lawyer. You don't need to have your mom arrested, but she needs to be charged so you can erase this debt from your name. I know she's your mom and you might feel weird about this. But what your mom did is horrible. I had this happen to multiple friends over the years. Some of them were 6 figures in debt at 18. It prevented many of them from getting loans to go to school or buy houses. It literally ruined their lives for decades.